Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seals. That's me, Alan Seals. I'm your host, and these are intimate, personal conversations with the industry's biggest names. Our guests for this episode, there's two of them. We have Haskell King and John Lavelle, who have become besties in their current production of Russian Troll Farm, a workplace comedy. It takes the term office politics to a whole new level and takes us back to 2016 in the middle of that election. This has kind of been a through line in a couple of episodes lately, but we get into sort of the theory behind why bad guys are bad, why good guys are good, depending on what perception you're coming from, what perspective. Sometimes the good guy wins, sometimes the good guy loses, and the bad guy wins. It's kind of a very interesting conversation, depending on, of course, who you are. Bad guys don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to do bad, twirling their mustache and laughing like Snidely Whiplash. This is an incredible conversation, and we dive deep into a lot of motivation behind some pretty nasty people. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Just to set up how we're going to transition into the interview, we were having a great chat about coffee in the morning, and I decided to keep it in the interview because it shows you a little bit about who Haskell and John are. And as always, find me online on all the social medias. Leave a rating and a review wherever you are listening now. Tell your friends. And now, here we go. Let's enjoy a little chat about coffee.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Also, how are you grinding your coffee, John?
With a coffee grinder.
Yeah, but what setting?
It's just got one setting.
Oh, good Lord.
Ground coffee.
Wait, are you a coffee connoisseur? Like, you care about how it's ground?
Me? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, listen to this man. He's drinking weak coffee. And
I don't like to drink weak coffee.
No, he shouldn't. He's got a show tonight. He's got an interview now. He needs his grounds grounded.
But what's the difference between mildly ground and like really ground? How does that change the intensity of the coffee?
Well, because he's grinding it with just a one setting grinder, which is probably a pretty coarse grind. So when he's putting it in a French press, it needs a little bit of a finer ground so it can actually be strong. So it can get all the good stuff out of the coffee. You grind it a couple of times.
Yeah, and I shake it up to get that nice fine powder.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm away from home. I'm away from home, Haskell. I don't have my Chemex and my Skag overpour.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah. No, I know how that is. I go through this whole thing anytime I'm away from home, and I have to I really have to go through psychological and mental tricks to get myself to adjust to this new weak coffee that I'm going to be drinking anywhere I go.
Yeah, funny enough, the people in our show don't drink that much coffee.
Really?
Look at that segue.
That's why they're not on this
so.
podcast right now.
Yeah. Well, my character drinks Monster Energy drink. I think your character just does massive amounts of blow off stage.
Oh, you're talking about the characters, not the other actors. I thought you were talking about that.
All right. Well, okay. Let's kick into the actual intro.
All right. Great.
Well, we have had the pleasure of chatting with two guests today, who I will now introduce in no particular order. Haskell King has performed all over the Off-Broadway and regional stages on stages such as the Irish Rep, Ensemble Studio Theatre, and the Abingdon Theatre. His TV credits and film credits include Dear Edward, Law & Order, The Heart That Stays, The Fly Room, and Shadow and Lies. John Lavelle has been on Broadway in The Graduate, off-Broadway stages including La Jolla Playhouse, the Shakespeare Center, LA, and the Old Globe. His TV and film credits include Selma, Frozen, Wreck-It Ralph, Zootopia, and the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. They are both part of the stellar cast that just recently opened the off-Broadway production of Russian Troll Farm, a workplace comedy at the aforementioned Vineyard Theatre. Here in New York City, Haskell and John, officially welcome to the Theater Podcast, even though we've already been coffee chatting for a very long time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Well, now that we're officially rolling, not talking about coffee, you guys get quiet. That's how it normally goes, right?
No. I'm loud.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
Loud. Yeah. Coffee talk. When was it? Coffee talk with Linda Richmond?
Coffee.
I just expended all the energy I have for the day.
So John, actually, this is a great place to start because you said you're based out of LA, but have you always lived there? Like, where is your background in theater and performing from?
Oh, sure. I grew up in New York City, where they paint murals of Biggie. And I was originally born in Brooklyn, and then I lived in Staten Island. My father, New York City firefighter. My mom a nurse. So all of that. And I've been back and forth between New York and LA. I'm bi-coastal, as some would say, but really I just fly economy where the work is. So, and I got my start in theater.
Plus,
I got my start. Yeah. No, economy plus, please. No economy. Like you show up and you're not sure. You're just like hoping not to sit next to the bathroom. But I live in LA, and I came out to do this show, and the Vineyard's been wonderfully accommodating, and our producer Dory has been wonderfully accommodating. And how did I get my start in theater? 3rd grade, I was doing a production of A Christmas Carol. I was the lead playing Ebenezer Scrooge with an all Boy Scout troupe, like old school. It was all boys playing all the roles. And I made, I'm from New York, so I made Scrooge like how do you say, and I mean this with a loving turn, like a Goomba, right? Like everyone I knew from like working around. So I wore like I wore like a little t-shirt with mustard stains, and I imagine that Scrooge worked at a deli. He was like a deli owner, and
oh god,
I just would did the whole thing in 3rd grade, like with my dad's accent, like Bob Cratchit, the ghosts are gonna come to me tonight, and I was in 3rd grade, and everyone laughed, and then I was hooked, and thankfully I was not very good at sports because I kept trying to play sports, and I didn't excel at them, so I kept coming back to the theater, and then one fateful day, I got a concussion playing hockey, and my sports career was over, and I just stuck with the theater. That's it.
I love that. I just imagine Bob Cratchit trying to walk across stage, do a nice cross. He's like, I'm walking here. What are you doing? Hey, Bob Cratchit, get over here.
Everyone got into it too. Everyone got into it. All our little 3rd grade selves were harnessing our inner Don Corleones. It was really funny. But that's what you do in Staten Island, Shaolin, the rugged isle of home of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Haskell.
Oh,
what is your origin story?
My origin story, I have it. I think it's really 2 steps. And the first was when I was in kindergarten, and I got hired on to do this kindergarten play for Christmas. And when I say hired, of course, they didn't pay us. But my parents were getting a divorce, and I was missing some school. And I got fired by Mrs. Gant.
In kindergarten?
In kindergarten. I was replaced. And let's just say I'm not a fan of Mrs. Gant. But then I think in junior high school or something, I was trying to figure out what my thing was. And I was doing a lot of different things. I played sports, and I was too small, really. I was, half the size of everybody else. So I quit team sports. I competed in bull riding. I rode bulls for a while. And then I competed in karate. I sustained some pretty serious injuries, and
bull or from the karate?
From both. The bull riding had numerous injuries, and then in karate, I had my nose completely broken, just smashed, as happens when you're fighting. But I had to have surgery and everything, like emergency surgery, because I had a blood clot. So I was in English class, and I was hyperactive, and my teacher, she really got fed up with me. And so she had me talk to the drama teacher. And that was it. I started, I'd never done anything like that before, really. And so I started doing, monologues, and then started competing. And I don't remember, John, do you put that? There's like a state or maybe national competition where you like take a duet
Yeah.
or something to competition.
Duo for forensics. I did the same thing.
It's forensics. Yeah. So we I did that.
I did the
We
same
won.
thing.
You did amazing. It was so
I
much
won
fun.
New York State.
We
Wait,
won,
I never knew this. I
we
won New York.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
Did you go to nationals? Did you go
No,
to
I did
nationals?
not. No, we didn't go to
Oh.
nationals. I don't know what happened. We should have gone to nationals, though,
Oh,
right?
wow, we
If we
could have
won
met
Oklahoma
each.
State. Yeah.
We could
I
have
know.
competed against each other.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. I had so much fun doing that, though. I'd never done anything like that. But yeah, that was my origin story.
So you grew up in Oklahoma then. I was going to ask what the bull riding was, because it's definitely not Brooklyn.
No, it wasn't Brooklyn. It was in Oklahoma. Yeah, I rode bulls there for a few years, from like the ages of 9, 10 to like maybe 14, 15.
Well, okay, so bull riding and drama, performing, definitely two different tracks. And normally, and I'm generalizing here, in a place where you are encouraged to do bull riding, you are normally discouraged to sing and dance and act. So was there any struggle, issues there, like trying to fall into this place of performing? Because if you found your, people say you found your tribe, or like we're all a merry band of misfits. So once you found your misfit friends, was it all smooth sailing?
Not at all. Are you kidding me? Of course not. It's the worst. Before that, I was also in band. I played trumpet for years, and that was like, that was just second from the bottom. The bottom was really drama. And
Oh yeah.
so I went from just like team sports, like everything was great in my life, and I just kept getting lower and lower. And I finally ended up with drama. But it was great. It was I really did feel like, even though that you're not encouraged. I remember my father, I did this monologue, and my acting teacher, of course, was very proud of me because I like cried at the end or something. They did like this kind of small public presentation, and our parents came, and I just remember seeing the look of shock and horror in my father's face after I finished that monologue. Just like, what has happened here? Is everyone seeing the exact same thing that I'm seeing? It was not encouraged to do that sort of thing there, but it didn't matter. It felt right, Yeah. It just, I knew as soon as I started doing it, I knew it was the thing.
That's interesting. That's interesting. The drama.
How old are you?
Oh yeah, how old were you at that point?
That was right. That was I think that was my junior or senior year. Right in that point, I think it's right in that point in high school where you've already decided, like, well, there's really no other option. Like it was a last resort.
Well, that was what I was going to ask John, because you said in third grade, you got the bug because you made people laugh and it was satisfying, but then you could kind of go the route of the class clown and become like sort of a bro or a sports jock. But then you said you weren't so good at sports. At what point growing up then did you decide, this is what I want to do? This is what I want to go to school for. I'm going to put my eggs in this basket.
Yeah. Well, I like played sports. I was actually okay at baseball, but I was very injury prone. So I kept getting like concussions and hurting my knees and stuff like that. In baseball, yeah, I got I was a catcher. Don't let your babies grow up to be catchers. And my family was like New York, blue collar city workers. So this idea was like wildly insane, and I didn't do it for a long time. But then I got hurt freshman year, and Kristen Savarese was the lead in all the girls' plays at the girls' Catholic school. And she's like, John, you're still acting? And I was like, no, I'm a hockey player now. But much higher voice. I was like, no, I'm a hockey player now. But I was injured. I had a concussion. And she asked me to be in No No Nanette, which is the musical that no one knows about. It is the musical, the reason why Babe Ruth was sent to the Yankees was to produce No No Nanette. That's what that musical is. I did that. And then similar thing to Haskell, I was doing forensics and working on like really out there plays. Like I was doing Martin Sherman's Bent sophomore year, and like Wish Fulfillment and all these like really wildly dangerous pieces of theater. I got in trouble. I got suspended from my drama club because I did Bent. But
Really?
it was different times back then. It was different times. You couldn't, you couldn't play as a sophomore. You couldn't play a gay man in a concentration camp, I guess. But
Wow.
I went for it, and then I auditioned for NYU when I was 17, and I got in. And I remember the day, like my dad said I can go. I was like working as a maintenance boy. I was cleaning a dumpster. I was inside a dumpster, power washing it. My dad drove up in his car. I think it was his like truck, his Yukon Denali, and he rolled down his window and he was like, "If you really want to go, you can go." And then he kind of drove off, and that's how I wound up going to
Now you gotta
NYU.
catch
And
me.
from there, that's it. Because
Make your way home.
now there's
guy.
no point of return. You spend that kind of time. And I lived in a squat in the West Village because I couldn't afford housing underneath St. Vincent's, and I went to NYU.
Wow.
And that point was like no point in no return for me too, kind of Haskell. Like I was like, "Oh, this is it. Like this is what I'm doing."
And
So yeah.
so you're at NYU then. And was the plan originally then to stay in New York and be a stage performer? Because now you're a proud bi-coastal career actor, yes. And
Super.
yeah, and so when did you start going to LA? And I guess for what reason? Because if New York, there's so much that happens still in New York too.
Yeah. I mean, I was idyllic at first. I was like, maybe I'll just do street theater. But then as time goes on, you realize there's no way to make a living or get even the smaller jobs without doing film or TV. So I booked a show on Broadway when I was about 20, went to LA, did the whole LA thing, shot a pilot, and then was chewed up and spit out and went back to New York and finished getting my degree. I went to LA actually because my first scene partner was this girl, and we dated and we hit it off. And 25 years later, we're married and we have a bunch of kids together. So in about 2010, I was doing my New York thing. I was doing Off-Broadway, doing indies. And she's like, "I'm moving to LA." So I followed her. So I literally moved to LA to follow a girl. Then she became my wife. And that's why I moved to LA. I would have never moved to LA hadn't I been maybe infatuated. It's love now, but maybe infatuated back then. But I loved her and I followed her and gave up all that.
It's been so interesting, like listening to John and also reflecting on our origin stories and pinpointing that moment that motivated us to choose poverty for the rest of our lives.
I love you, man.
Hang on, everybody. We're just going to take a quick break. All right, now we're back. Did you guys work together before Russian Troll Farm, or is this the first time you've been able to be together?
First time.
Wow.
We met in the workshop. Yeah.
Well, how did you get connected to it? And one of you, John, you said you worked with Darko, the director, before, right?
Yeah, I've worked with Darko for almost 20 years. We've done several shows together. And I knew Sarah Ganscher through mutual friends in the theater. And I saw her play Satyr. And then I read one of the plays that my friend Rachel was directing. And I was like, "Oh, this she's really good. Jump on these coattails if I ever get a chance." And then one day I was just texting with Darko. And then I got an offer to do this workshop in New York. And it kind of aligned. It was Sarah's show that I knew about. And I knew it was going to New York. I was watching Hadestown with Rachel, who directed it. And she's like, "Oh, just to let you know, Sarah's play is going to go up in New York somewhere." I was like, "What?" I got to reach out. And before I even did, I went to the workshop for a play I already knew, play I saw the online version of with Haskell. I was already in love with Haskell. And, I think it took like 5 minutes for me and Haskell to be like, "Yep, we're good. We're going to do this thing together. It's going to be great." It was immediate. Like immediately I met Haskell and I knew artistically and personally, like, well, for me, on my part, I was like, I'm aligned with this guy. Like, I'm ready to do this journey. And it's been like a 2-year journey together for
It
this
took
play.
me a
which
year
is,
and a
you know,
half or so
great.
to warm up to John, but like
I
we're there.
know. That's just,
I guess for the backstory, for those who don't know, there is this place in Russia, which is rumored to have been disbanded at the end of 2023, but called the Internet Research Agency, and it employed about 1,000 people. And Russian Troll Farm, a workplace comedy, is a snapshot of the year, basically most of 2016, right, leading up to Trump being elected as president. And this is based on real facts. And as I understand it, every tweet that we see is a real tweet that has been put out in the world by the Russian Troll Farm. 1,000 people whose job it was, maybe still is to put out misinformation on social media and sway the public opinion of things. And I didn't know how real, scary real this was until I saw your show last week. So for the two of you guys who have been involved with this for a while, I guess, I mean, Haskell, you were involved first, but then John, you come in, you're like, oh, it's a script, it's a story. Oh shit, it's real? Like, what was going through both of your minds when you realized how true all of this is, or the truth that is based on?
For me, I know for my experience is that I already had an idea some of this was going on because I had watched stuff like this happen here in the US with the group Anonymous and LulzSec 5 years before. But how much it was influencing the general population in the US by born age, and how sophisticated it was, that was pretty new to me. And that really opened my eyes to everything I was interacting with, all social media that I was interacting with. And I was constantly on the lookout for signs of trolls. And it radically changed how I viewed what I was seeing online and how it was influencing my thoughts and behaviors. That's pretty powerful for a play to have that effect on someone.
Well, did you, I mean, again, like, you had a feeling that this stuff was real? Like, I didn't know until, gosh, like the Reality Winner stuff kind of hit the news, where it's like, oh, this is leaked proof that Russia interfered with the election. But I thought it was more like ballots and votes and stuff. I didn't realize that there was all this misinformation that had been put out there, that people were, I mean, people were globbing onto, thinking it was real 100%, because I think what Internet Research Agency did pretty well was take like 2% of truth and spin it into a full thing that then everyone thought, oh, there's a little bit of truth in there, that must mean the whole thing is true.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what the playwright era started to notice too, right? Like, to even start diving down this rabbit hole. Have you talked to her about where it came from?
well, yes, I know what it is. She saw a Facebook post that was super hyper liberal. And she's like, wow, I thought I was liberal. Maybe I need to go further to the left. And then she looked into it a little bit more and realized it was a Russian troll account, that all these people that, had the same kind of efficacy, political efficacy, they were like looking at it and believing it to be real. And she just did a little bit deeper dive and realized that she'd been had by this Russian troll. And that kind of, from that, she looked into a few more things. I think that's it. Does that sound right, Haskell?
It sounds right to me. Yeah, I remember her saying something about theirs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She was like, I thought I was aggressive. This is, yeah.
Yeah. And then she started to imagine the day-to-day, the day in out, the drudgery of like any other job, these people going to an office, like no different than, selling paper at a paper company. But quite literally, they're there to create engagement and discord and disruption, right? Because it's not even to like sway people. It's, because they do it on either side of the political spectrum.
where they have that, like there was I don't know, I used to call them bots back then. I didn't call them trolls. I call them bots.
Bots are automated.
And bots are automated, yeah. But they do that too. I mean, there's automated kind of responses that they could also come up with to create more tweets and more engagement. And Igor, Haskell's character, uses those, probably using AI, to create like a really huge flood of arguments, like a computer arguing with itself for other people to chime in with. But I always call them bots. Like I would have family members send me, the news or something they learned. And it was a meme. Like it's a literal meme, a photograph of Barack Obama's Columbia University ID, saying, see, he's from Nigeria. And I was like, this is all fake. This is completely fake. But then you learn that Fox News picked it up and Fox News ran with it. And Bill O'Reilly's like, look at this here, right? And he just shows it on TV. And you have to go back to your family members and be like, this isn't real. Because back then, I think we've gotten a little bit better now. But like you look back on that stuff, you're like, just like if it was on TV, it was real. If it was on the internet, it's got to be real. It's got to be vetted. So I think that was a big thing to do with it. And then Sarah read this book called Cyber Wars, and it came from something awful, which are great books. And I think that kind of gave a lot of true, horrifying data and dramaturgia for the play.
Wow. So then for the two of you then approaching this subject matter, it's very serious subject matter, and everybody's got some unspoken, like it's hinted at, and maybe it's just your amazing performances combined with the amazing writing, but it's hinted that everyone's got these big deep reasons is why they're there, why they have to be doing this in a job they don't particularly like. And Haskell, your character, maybe actually does like it. He's good at it. His whole motivation for existing is to win a microwave. Not really sure if he likes it, maybe just likes the microwave rewards and all the other things.
But that's like so many people in their jobs, right?
Right.
It's like so many people. I mean, if you're going to be there, and you're good at it, you're going to often find a way to like it. Or if it's the one thing you're good at, and it also gives you a connection to people. And for someone like Igor, who's not going to go sit across from someone and have a connection, this is an excellent way to make a connection with people.
That's a really good point. Yeah, Igor, the character of Igor is very mechanical, very emotionless, and you're right. He succeeds the best in connecting digitally. You're right. That's a very good choices. I like that a lot.
No, my character loves his job. It's his calling. It's what he wants to be good at. I don't think he's as skilled technologically as Igor. He wishes he was. I don't have the kind of storytelling or dramatic narrative skills that Nikolai has, like all that. But I think do believe I'm fighting for a cause, and that's to start a war in America to help create it's all based in horror, right? It's a horrible thing, but the idea of a reset, like let's reset society, because I feel like society's gotten away from people who should be ruling the world. This is Steve. Steve feels like he should have a higher place, or a much more, he should be a more desired human. So the way to do that is by destroying the world and causing chaos. And once all that happens, I'll be okay. But yeah, no, it's a true calling. This is my best. Steve thinks this is the best thing for him to do.
Wow.
He loves it.
We've talked about this in other episodes a couple times about being the bad guy, playing the bad guy. And what's sort of this interesting dichotomy about Russian Troll Farm is that all of your characters, you are, to us, our perception as Americans, you are the bad guys, but you all play it like it's literally like The Office, the show The Office, in a Russian troll farm. You're going to work, you're clocking in, you're clocking out, you're having fun. There's inter-office politics and relationships and things that shouldn't happen. For all intents and purposes, you are all bad guys, but we're rooting for you because you're all presenting it as human. And people have said to me before, like, when you play a bad guy, you still play their truth. You don't wake up in the morning as a bad guy and say, I'm a bad guy, I'm gonna go do bad things. You're doing what you feel is right. And that's what's hard about all this, being a bad guy, right? How do you make a likable bad guy?
Well, there's a line in the play where Nikolai says, I feel like what we do is evil, but I want to do a good job at it. And then I say, no, I think we're saving the world with what we're doing. So I think if you like, it's that real human thing, like as a bad guy, sure, quote unquote, like, you want to do the right thing, you just do it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And that's quite often like the simple definition of it. But, where does the impetus come from? And it's like, for me, my character, it's like extreme vulnerability. It comes out of like, a lot of self-doubt, self-hatred, a lot of pain. And I just want to feel better. I want to feel like I'm doing something good in the world. So as long as like you empathetically look at your character, if you are riding that lane of the villain, if you empathetically like look at the character without judgment, with actually tons of love, then I think it works better. Because if you're judging the character, like twisting your mustache, it's disrespectful to the cause, right? So you want to be the most human character you can. And you should, like, I'm like, am I the bad guy? I mean, I know I'm an anti-hero for sure. But it's funny, I was talking to my daughter, not to bring up kids, but my daughter, you want to see pictures? But to talk about my daughter, it was
Yeah.
she was like, Dad, are you a good guy or a bad guy in the play? And I was like, oh, it's complicated. She's like, do you do bad things? And I was like, I guess so. She goes, but you lose, right? And I was like, no, I don't lose, right? I mean, remember, and she remembers a little bit about the presidency and stuff like that. You remember that president we had? And she's like, yeah. She's like, well, I helped him. She's like, oh, no. I was like, yeah. So, give the context. But like Haskell, like, sorry, what are your thoughts on the nonsense I just said?
No, that you put it so well, John. I also think that I have an easier time of in terms of playing a villain for an audience, right? I think my role makes it a little easier on me to do that. Yeah, as I said before, for me, this job, where this job is, it's an opportunity to not only use my technical skills, but it's an opportunity to connect with people on a broad scale and have people love me and for us to build friendships together. And what bad can you say about that? Except that in the process, by doing that, I'm undermining the black vote in the United States. But like,
Right.
that's the thing, right? Like there's this conflict, but somehow as a character, I've resolved that for myself, because what's most important is these connections, and I'm getting these connections back from people. And so if people are showing this love back to me, how can that be bad? If I can't get this kind of human important connection anywhere else in the world, there's nothing wrong with this. So it's really not difficult to play what is perceived as a villain. Clearly, if I step outside of it objectively, everything we're doing is heinous. But the inside, yeah, I think it's pretty easy to justify that.
Hang on, everybody. We're just going to take a quick break. All right, now we're back. The show is Russian Troll Farm is limited run here now January 25th through February 25th, and it could not have come out now in a better year, given that it is 2024 and look who's in the news again. So yeah, everyone go to vineyardtheater.org, vineyardtheater.org, if I can say that without slurring it, vineyardtheater.org to check out more info and get some ticks and whatnot. And so I want to wrap up with 3 closing questions I ask everyone to end the episodes. And we'll go back and forth here since there's 2 of you. Haskell, we'll start with you. Very simply, is just what motivates you.
In theater, to be on stage.
In life, to
Is
wake
that what
up in the morning and make your coffee. What motivates you?
Good Lord, what a question. There's this moment that happens occasionally, like every, I don't know, a few years or so, where you feel your body, you feel a connection with the person who's on stage with you, and you feel the audience. So I only feel this every few years, and that it's all equal. And I think they call that being present. And that moment is why I know that we're all maybe not literally seeing each other, but we're all being seen and all being connected in that moment. And that's 100% why I continue to do this.
I love that. John, what about you?
Money. No, I'm kidding. That's why I do theater. So basic. My family, like I just want to be a better person and be a fulfilled person. Not so much for myself, but like just to be a better family member. My kids, my wife, and I think I am at my best when I'm doing what I love, which is acting, writing, being involved in this arts. Yeah, it's hard to do things for yourself. It makes you better to function with the people you care about. So, yeah, just trying to be a better self. And also, as kind of the Haskell's point, I really like people feeling okay and comfortable. Like discomforted people, I like to make feel comfortable and okay. So, and then the comfortable people, I like the discomfort. So I don't know, maybe that too. But
Just
yeah,
disruptive.
overall, my family.
Then the next question, John, we'll start with you this time. What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
Yeah, I had this idea, but through this talk, it's like changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Quite literally, your value as a person has nothing at all to do with your place in this industry. You know what I mean? Like you're not less valuable or more valuable. You're not a better artist or a worse artist, depending on where you're ranking insofar as your monetary value, right? Whether you're with the biggest agent or the smallest agent, big shows, not working at all. You're working a brunch shift at 7 a.m. or you're going on stage on a Broadway show at 8 p.m. Your value as a person, as an artist, has nothing to do with the commodification of who you are. And so often as a younger actor, I definitely saw a correlation with that. Like I had a lot of, if I wasn't doing well, I really was hard on myself and down on myself. And for lack of a better term, not to be too revealing, like I hated myself. I thought I was worthless if I wasn't doing this at a high level. It's got nothing to do with it. It really doesn't at all. And people convince you all the time about your value, whether it be in how they interact with you, whether the contracts you get, whether the job, it's got nothing to do with it. So just practice radical self-compassion. You're the most important person in the world, in your world. So yeah.
Love that.
God,
Haskell.
Minus John. I love you, dude.
I love you, bud.
There's so many things. I don't have kids, so I haven't gotten to practice any of these little aphorisms or anything with anyone. But I don't know. I would say try as best you can not to have any regrets, regardless of how maybe poor you think your decisions are. Try to just accept it and to just love myself a little more. God, we all want to be able to do this, don't we? It's like hug our younger self, say that anxiety, if you can, try to work on it, breathe through it, because the anxiety just makes you're anxious over something that doesn't exist. And the more you have anxiety about that, the more you're actually doubling your problems.
Yeah.
And so try to be present, forgive yourself, and move through and try to be kind to others and let people in. All those things, we hear basic life stuff. But I think it would be if I were getting to talk to my younger self, I would just repeat that to myself all the time.
Oh, beautiful, both of you. Thank you. All right, so the last question then, and this is the hardest one. John, let's see. Who wants to go first before I ask it?
I'll go first.
Okay, Haskell. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
One show for the rest of my life. It has to match the situation, right? So it's not just like a show that I love. It really has to match what we're talking about here. And so I think that there's this play that I did in NYU years ago. I believe it's called Quad by Samuel Beckett, and it was Beckett wrote a bunch of these little plays that were just like letters and numbers, and this was just I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4 the characters, and the characters were it's 4 people in a square, and they wear hoods and robes. They're completely covered, and they just enter. It's just very methodical, and this person passes the next point, the next one comes through, and they just shuffle around. And this is for eternity. And so if we're going to match the play to the situation, and I have to watch it over and over, I think it might end up being like because any play is going to drive you crazy if you watch it over and over. But if you have a play that's going to make you crazy watching it just one time, I'm hoping that maybe like a joke, after like 10 times, you're going to be like, oh, okay, that's pretty good.
All right. I've never heard of it. I want to check that out now. John, what's your answer?
I mean, there's so many ways to get it out, get it out of answering this question. I don't like to see shows more than once. I just want to see a show with all my friends in it. I want to see an improv show, so it's different every night. But I'll answer it to the moment right now. I'm gonna say Cloud 9 by Carol Churchill. I find that play so I kind of like what you're saying. Like it's just so there's so much happening, and there's so much I don't think I'll ever fully get the play. But I'll be entertained and horrified and challenged. So I could see that probably 10 times, which is a lot, right? If I'm not working on the show. Yeah, Cloud 9 by Carol Churchill. Or Mother Courage. I think Mother Courage is another one. But I'm like, oh, that one's so brutal. Do I want to brutally have my heart hurt? So it's a hard answer. Depends on how you watch theater. It's a hard question. It depends how you watch theater.
Yeah.
I'm so sensitive. I'm just gonna get affected by whatever I watched really deeply. I think that's why I like to watch it once. I want to
fair enough.
I don't want to re-hurt myself.
All right, Haskell, where can we find you online and connect with you on social media? Do you play the game there?
Yeah. So Instagram, I don't have a website or anything, but Instagram is Haskell D, as in Douglas King.
Haskell D King. All right, John.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very private. I don't have any public accounts. I'm not on Twitter. I do have an Instagram. And maybe if you're a cool person, I'll allow you to follow me. It's called Misunderstood Wanderer. That's my Wu-Tang name. If you go into the Wu-Tang name generator, which is a great thing, I recommend everyone go to the Wu-Tang name generator, the original one. And you type in your name and you find out your Wu-Tang name. And mine is Misunderstood Wanderer, because I am from Staten Island and I love Wu-Tang. It's for the children. So yeah, that's my thing. I should make it public, right? I have to. I'm very bad at social media game. I have major anxiety.
Especially after doing this play. I mean, come on. I'm not making my public. No way.
Oh, is yours private too?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, if you guys don't want to put it out there, I can cut this whole question.
No, we can always filter.
Yeah, we filter.
I always ask people how we know each other, and I look up their stuff before I accept anybody. So
okay.
Well,
fair.
for me, it's about the fishing. Because if you're just open, anyone could start engaging with you and stuff like that.
Well, and also they also can just they can also make a fake profile like you. And then they're trolling not you, but all of the people you know.
As you,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, my Wu-Tang name is now Phantom Observer.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Did you just do it?
Yeah,
Did you just
did it real quick.
Can you do Haskell's? Can you do Haskell
Amazing.
King?
Yeah, please.
All right, let's see. Haskell Douglas King. This day forward is now known as Vulgar Criminal.
Vulgar criminal. Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm writing that
The most-
down.
That's how Donald Glover came up with Childish Gambino.
Really? Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm as cool as Donald Glover.
No, that's pretty damn cool.
No, he's great. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you both so much. You can find me on Threads, Instagram, and TikTok at theater_podcast. I'm on Facebook. Leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Thanks to Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and outro music that you might be hearing right now. And gosh, John Haskell, thank you so much. And everybody, please go see Russian Troll Farm, a workplace comedy. If you like The Office, then you're gonna like this because it's just funny. It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.